Call this meeting to order. Regular council meeting, May 10th, 2023. Susan, would you please take roll call?
Yes. Counselor Halverson.
Present.
Counselor Nicola Raha. Present. Counselor Hall.
Here.
Counselor Hollaba.
Present.
Counselor Lockie.
Here.
Mary Lance.
Here. Okay, we would look to adopt the agenda with the addition of VEMA request for Juneteenth celebration on June 18th. I'll add that as number 4 under myself. No other discussion. I'll look for a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Travis.
I'll support.
Thank you, Jed. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, good evening, everybody. We do have public participation tonight. It's like Bobby McCarthy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Bobby Koslowski McCarthy, born and raised in Chisholm, graduated from high school. I came back home in 2014. My mother was sick. Still living at home, and I chose to stay in Chisholm because it's home, and I love Chisholm. I'm very happy with the community. The house that we live in, we grew up in, my father moved to Chisholm from Shenango in 1947. He added to the house and raised 4 children, him and my mother. And it's always been a nice home. Well, about a month ago, my sewer started backing up. And I went down the basement and I saw a mess in the bathroom and the shower and decided, better do something. So first thing I did was call the city of Chisholm, who came out and they did check the lines and they said, it's not ours. It's gotta be from your end. So I then called Wally's over in Hibbing, and they came over and they blew out the line, or tried to blow out the line. And after a few hours, he said, there's nothing we can do, it's collapsed. And he gave me Charlie Lustig's name and Mike Cinco. So I called Charlie, I should say my sister called Charlie because she knows him, and his wife. And Charlie called me back and I told him what happened, and he said, I'll be there at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. And Charlie came over, and he started checking out the sewer line, and he said, let's go check outside. So we went outside, and he said, I'm hoping your sewer line runs by your house, because then we won't have to dig in your basement, and hopefully that's where the problem was. It wasn't. It was in the basement. And he dug up, and that's when he turned to me and he said, you have Orangeburg pipes in your basement. Now, quite a few of you, I'm sure, have heard of Orangeburg pipes. From the mid-1940s up until 1970, Orangeburg pipes were used in the place of the steel pipes. First off, started in the 40s because of the iron was in demand for the armies because of the war. And there was a company in New York that found making Orangeburg using wood pulp paper, and they wrapped it tight and they put like a sealant on, and they found that it worked really good for sewers. So it was used across the country. And so Charlie said, it's shot. And this is what happens after so many years. Okay. And I realize that we don't want sewer in our groundwater, and it has to be taken care of. And as a homeowner, it's my responsibility, which is fine. My question is, I had always heard that the homeowner is reliable or responsible for their property. However, when we called the city of Chisholm, we found out, no, actually in Chisholm, we have short lines and long lines for sewer lines. So your sewer hooked up to the city is either on your boulevard, on your street, possibly on the boulevard across the street. and you're responsible for that. Unfortunately, my sewer line is across the street on the other boulevard, so they had to dig up the street, which of course I'm responsible for, and the boulevard across the street, which again, I'm responsible for. Now, I've talked to council members, former council members from Chisholm, council members from other communities who have said, you're not responsible for the boulevard, you're not responsible for the street, and you're certainly not responsible for what's across the street when the city buried this sewer line over there. I want to know, why is Chisholm have a different rule? It doesn't seem right. Why should I have to be responsible for the street, the boulevard across the street, and when Chisholm did something like that and passed that rule, shouldn't older homes have been grandfathered in like they grandfather everything else in? I'd like to know, because I certainly can't afford it. Now, Mr. Johnson, our city engineer, had talked about a year and a half ago. I was at a council meeting with Mary, and he talked about the sewer lines have to be checked in Chisholm. It's a lot. We have to make sure they're updated. And he talked about going from house to house, everybody's house. Sewer lines have to be checked to make sure they're not leaking. And he said those that are in good condition, they're fine, but others, their sewers have to be replaced. And we had one person on the council that night, just one.
We are over the 5 minutes, just so you know, so you want to wrap it up.
Yeah, who said, what's this gonna cost the city? What is this gonna cost the homeowners? And he said, a few $1,000s. That was you that asked that question, nobody else. And you said, just a few $1,000s. Well, guess what? I'm looking at over $15,000 to get this fixed, because I have to pay to go all the way across the street. Thank you. Address?
Yes, please.
421 Northwest 10th.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Bobby. Obviously, I don't have any answers for you right now. It's not brought beforehand, so,
Mr. Mayor,
go ahead.
if I could make a comment. This has been an ongoing issue in Chisholm for many, many years, and I've never understood it either. Why are there private pipes in a public right-of-way? It absolutely shouldn't be that way. I think it's a bad policy, flawed policy. Everything should stop at the property line, so it's clearly demarcated. I've never understood it, and this has been going on a long, long time. This is 15, 20 plus years I've been involved with these issues, and it probably goes way back before that. If you're like me, I can't understand why Chisholm has private pipes in the public right of way. Bad policy.
No, I would agree. Is there anything more at this time? Obviously, there's no action that's going to be taken. Okay. Thank you, Bobby. This will definitely be future conversation for everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to council reports. Councilor Alverson, let's start with you tonight. Good evening.
Good evening. My report is I attended a park board meeting last week. Also attended the Strong Towns meeting that was at the senior center. It was very well attended, and everybody in the community should be interested in that and should get involved. It's a real good project, good program. And then just today, met with MnDOT here at City Hall regarding Highway 73 through town, and also been out at Red Head, just getting ready for the season opener, which we think might be in the next few days.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Councilor Fulton, good evening.
Good evening. I'd like to say Happy National Nurses Week to all the nurses out there, and thank you for everything that you do. Mother's Day luncheon at Jim's Sports Club is they're having a Mother's Day luncheon from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. She also said that they're gonna have dine-in, takeout, and delivery that day, and live music on the patio. So that sounds like fun for all the mothers out there, or grandmas, aunts, and I was gonna say uncles. Bark Design is also hiring a graphic designer, print associate, and screen printer operator if anybody's looking for a job out there. Let's see. Honor the Students Powwow is this Saturday from noon to, I believe it's 6 o'clock at Minnesota Discovery Center. And also the Rustic Pig at Minnesota Discovery Center is starting their Bands and Brews and Barbecue every Thursday from 4 to 8, starting June 1st, and it is free to attend. So, let's see. Chisholm Community Education still has Safety Town openings, and so if your kids want to join Safety Town, June 5th through the 16th it starts. And also ATV class for the community ed, ages 10 to 15. Starts on Sunday, May 21st. So I'll stop there. I've got a long list, so thank you.
Thank you, April. Counselor Baki, good evening.
Good evening. Just a couple of things. I just came from a community foundation meeting. So, like I mentioned the last time, they have a burger bash coming up next Thursday. Cost is $12. The theme is 1950s sock hop. So, dress in your best and
Sorry.
pass that along. Dress your best. Tickets are available from CCF members. You can also get them at Gyms and Keyboard. Chamber meeting this morning that I attended. We had great time at the fundraiser last week on Friday. So thank you to everybody who came out and supported the chamber, dressed in your favorite Minnesota sports team. And let's see, Kiwanis, tomorrow is purse bingo for the splash pad. I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe the middle of June is when they're looking at getting that going, the splash pad put in. So more to come on that, but I think that's the plan. Bridget probably knows a whole lot more than I do about it, so maybe not, but that's all I have.
Thank you, Travis. Counselor McLaraha, good evening.
Good evening. I attended the Strong Towns meeting last week as well. I agree, it was very well attended, and I would also encourage everyone to participate in those meetings. Seems like it's going to be very informative.
I would agree, absolutely. Okay. Counselor Holova, good evening.
Good evening, sir. I attended the EDA meeting, attended the Strong Towns Action Lab meetings as well. Met with Phil Norvich from the St. Louis County Conservation Group today, and we toured the city to look at storm sewers and geese reduction, and we discussed developing a stormwater action plan. I was part of the highway cleanup with the EMS group last night. And I forgot to mention the last meeting that I also attended the Wenton Edition meeting and attended the last Board of Appeals meeting as well. And I was able to sit down with some more local businesses as well in the past couple weeks.
Busy guy. Excellent, thank you, Jen. Myself, so obviously there's a lot of very well-attended events that we had going on, from the fundraiser on Friday, the Strong Towns event. Anybody who's interested, go ahead and look them up online. You can give them your email and they will let you know the next time there's something to be engaged in. We definitely need community engagement, and that's what makes us successful. I was also at the meeting this afternoon, walking around the storm sewers. That's definitely a topic that we need to address. So thank you, Jed and the PUC for, Larry for putting that meeting on today. The MnDOT meeting, obviously there's a lot of interest in that corridor that we need to be thinking about. So the conversation really needs to start now, because they are looking at doing some work 2027, which seems like a long time away, but the planning starts now. So I also was fortunate enough to attend the groundbreaking over at Dahmer Trucks, or Detroit Diesel, an investment that some counselors from Hibbing and Chisholm made many years ago. A lot of people were ridiculed because the return on investment wasn't there right away. I think we're seeing that now with another 30 to 60,000 square foot addition. Lots of employees over there, lots of new technology. It's quite amazing what they're looking at doing. They're actually looking at reusing the batteries in the electric vehicles. So instead of having to bury them somewhere, we can use them to, retain energy from solar panels. So good reclamation there. I was also fortunate enough to be welcomed over to the Sportsman's Banquet, so thank you, Chief, the oldest sportsman's club in the state. And I also took part with the Hibbing Chamber, had a welcome to Chisholm Hibbing area at the Memorial Building a week ago, so new people that moved to that community who are interested in what we have to offer, so that was a very fun event, and I'd like to thank them for inviting me over. With the fire department, we had our meeting last Wednesday, and I'd like to say congratulations to Shay Temple, 1 year on the department, and also had his second child. So thank you, Shay, for everything you do, and congratulations. And Mike Nadeau, 11 years on the department, and Stephanie Holliva, 17 years on. Many years of dedicated service, so thank you very much. And with that, I will be done, unless there's any questions for me. Moving on, ambulance director, good evening. Yeah. No report. Fire chief is out tonight. We are having a DNR training, and they are landing their chopper over at the fairgrounds area. Police chief, Baron, good evening.
Good evening. Mr. Mayor and Council, good evening. I just have informational, it's already kind of past due, but Officer Chamernick has retired. I retired at the end of last month. I'd like to thank Ed for his 29 years of dedicated service. He takes with him a lot of knowledge of this town and its citizens. So thank you, Ed, for all your commitment and hard work. Ed started in '94 in Buell with us and came over to Chisholm and finished out his career. So that's changing of the guard. So, but happy he's going to enjoy retirement.
Thank you very much for that. Next time, don't let him sneak out without, coming after. I know that was Ed's choice, but, we definitely like to send him out, or I would at least, it's, so thank Ed.
Yep.
I'll thank Ed.
I got something for you, Vern. Quick. 2 questions. Mr. Mayor, as far as Blight, what's the plan on Blight this year? I got questioned.
Yeah, we'll be starting pretty soon. We're actually interviewing for the CSOs next week. On your Tuesday, I think. But we're interviewing the CSOs next week. We should have them on board by the next week. Guys are going around and doing some preliminary stuff now, and actually looking at serving some people and doing a preliminary sweep for them like we did last year. And some people might even be serving before that, but so they're ahead of the game. But yeah, we're just about there.
Cool. And one more thing too is had some complaints on calendar parking from the 300 block to the 500 block on 6th Street Northwest. So
yeah, we've written about 10 books of tickets in the last 2 weeks. So it's like people think calendar parking changes, and that is kind of a unique thing to Chisholm. Calendar parking, this is one of the only towns it is all year long. So people kind of forget that when the snow leaves, but it is all year long. So
cool. Thanks, sir.
Yep.
Thank you, Chief. Building official, zoning administrator, good evening. No report. City engineer, Mr. Johnson?
No report, but I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you, Jim. Public Works Supervisor, Larry, good evening.
No report, Mayor.
Okay. City Parks Trails Rec Director, Bridget, good evening.
Good evening, Council. Good evening, Mayor. I do have some reports, mostly for the community, but spread the word, as you do. CSRP, Chisholm Summer Rec Program, is opening in June, and we have our staff on board. We're taking registrations right now. It's 7 weeks this year, a little bit longer than past year, and it is $75, so that's a steal of a deal to send your kids off to some quality programming 4 days a week for 7 weeks, just for $75. So it takes place at the curling club, looking for more kids this year. Volleyball signups, actually, we're looking for those by next week, May 19th. So if you haven't put your team together yet, please do so. Bocce ball, I think there's still a few teams left that could be filled in, only on the men's and women's. With Redhead Mountain Bike Park, there's quite a bit of news there, and I heard that it might be opening soon. You're correct, tomorrow is the day, So tomorrow you can get on trail for hiking and biking. One trail will be closed at the North Star. Part of the North Star Loop will be closed, but you'll see the signs if you're out there. So we're excited to open back up for a full season. On June 4th, there is a mountain bike race, same as last year. It was here in May last year. This year it is June 4th, a Sunday. So looking for spectators from the community and any volunteers. So contact me if you want to volunteer for a big mountain bike race happening June 4th. The youth center's last day is tomorrow. So we will be doing a little party with some giveaways and big announcements thanks to CCF. Next year when we open up in September, we're going to have some virtual reality programming and we're going to share that with the library. So we're kind of excited to partner there and get the kids some virtual reality goggles and do the digital thing because that's what's cool, right? So that's all I have.
That's awesome.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
City Library Supervisor.
No question.
City Attorney.
No formal report, Mayor, but I'm happy to field questions if the council has any.
Thank you, Brian. City Clerk, Treasurer. Za, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Just a few updates. We sent out letters to all appellants as part of the local Board of Appeal and Equalization just yesterday, I believe. So that fulfills the city's portion of that process. Department heads and Stephanie and myself are working diligently on capital improvements, the 5-year plan, as well as some upcoming budget amendments that we'll present at the next council meeting. So we're working hard on those. Stephanie and I are communicating almost daily about the public safety building and the resources required to pay for that over the course of the project, right, until 2024. So we're corresponding, communicating on that every day until we finalize the final schedule. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you. City Administrator, Ms. Graba. Good evening, Steph.
Good evening. I just have a quick kind of follow-up from what Eileen had mentioned, the public safety building. It is getting close, so we may see some demo work being done up there as early as next week, and some site preparation for the building to be built. So things are getting exciting and moving along on that.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Moving on, consent agenda. It consists of the list of bills, communications, which are March 7th, 2023, Chisholm Parks, Trails, and Rec Advisory Board meeting minutes. March 16th, 2023, HRA regular meeting minutes. April 3rd, 2023, public hearing to approve the final zoning map and text amendments. Minnesota Department of Revenue iron ore assessments for 2023. April 6th, 2023, Police Commission meeting minutes. Minutes of previous city council meetings. April 8th, 2023, LBAE meeting minutes. April 26th, 2023, reconvene LBAE meeting minutes. April 26th, 2023, regular meeting minutes. May 2nd, 2023, working session meeting minutes. Payroll and overtime. Unless there's any changes or corrections anybody noticed, I would look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion.
Thank you, Travis.
I'll second.
Thank you, Jed. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to new business. Miss Galley, good evening.
The first thing I have on the agenda is the second reading of the ordinance amendments, 153.25 and 153.25.
Okay, I would look for a motion to approve second reading of 153.25.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Travis. Thank you, Cheyenne. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. I'll look for a motion to approve second reading ordinance 153.251.
Make the motion.
Thank you, Jed.
Support.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. Thank you, Mandy.
Thank you, ma'am.
The second item is the application of the Roosevelt Apartments for Valley right-of-way vacation request. The Planning Commission met on May 1st, and they did approve this request unanimously. Our applicant is in the audience if there are any questions for him. You will see the survey attached in the agenda. And also Jim Johnson's recommendation for approval as well.
I know council's kind of hard to see in the County Land Explorer drawing, but the alley that does go from First Avenue to Central is non-existent at this time. It actually runs through the current building. And then is the alley that goes to the south, is that currently there?
It's on here if everybody wants to see it.
Okay.
The right-of-way is there.
The red,
alleys
right,
are-
but it's not an actual. So if anyone has any questions for the property owner, or for Mandy, or for anybody else? I think this is gonna be great for the development of that site and the future growth. So if there is nothing else, I would look for a motion to approve the alley vacation on Block 31 of Chisholm Edition.
Make the motion.
Second.
Thank you, Marty. Thank you, April. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mandy.
Thank you.
Ms. Maruska, good evening. Again, welcome back.
Thank you. Tonight, I'm looking for approval to enter into contract with John and Jackie Dahl. It would be their second year as being campground host. They're independent contractors, technically. It's a little trade where they stay in their campground space at no cost, and then they help out with myriad things that are happening at the campground. Registering campers on the weekends, all kinds of stuff like that. So they're very helpful.
Excellent.
It's a good deal.
Absolutely is. Great tool to utilize. So council, I'd look for a motion to support that host contract.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, April.
Support.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bridget. Ms. Graba.
Good evening. The first item I have on the agenda is the MAPE labor agreement. As all the council knows, we've been working diligently for the past, 6 to 9 months to get our labor agreements in order. In your packet, you will find 2 versions of it. One of it is a clean copy, and the other one is the marked up copy that shows the changes that were made to that contract. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the contract, or if there's any questions for me on that. I'm happy to answer them.
I'd like to say thank you all for your hard work. The MAPE employees, the council members and staff, all working together to make this happen. So if there's no questions, I would look for a motion to approve the MAPE labor agreement.
Make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, April.
Support.
Thank you, Travis. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next item on the agenda is the AFSCME labor agreement. You have in front of you, you were also emailed that on Tuesday. Same thing, you have a clean copy, and then you also have the copy of the changes that were made to that contract. We are looking for a motion to approve the contract for the AFSCME labor agreement. Or if there's any questions.
Any questions, council? Is there a motion in support?
Make the motion.
Thank you, Cheyenne.
I'll second.
Thank you, Jed. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
The next item on the agenda is the confidential administrative assistant Susan Trunk contract. This also is in your packet with 3-year contract for the confidential administrative assistant. If there's any questions on that, I'd be happy to answer those.
If there are no questions, council?
I just got a question.
Yes.
What was the difference between this one and the other confidential secretary? What is aren't they this?
So they're separate contracts, so they can negotiate separate needs. There were a couple differences in those contracts, not much, a little bit. I'd have to go through them 1 second here. So yeah, they do not bargain, they do not negotiate together. So they do have some differences. Just bear with me for 1 minute here. The wage increase was the same for both of them. They both had received an additional $10.50 on their, sorry, I have to find it here. Juneteenth was included in these contracts. Able to compare them, I may have to go to my office to grab a couple documents that has the 2 comparables.
I guess I just wanted to know like the biggest differences between the two since they both are confidential. I guess that was because I didn't spot anything.
Sure.
That's
Yeah,
why.
it was very minute things in Susan's contract. It was added legal guardian by court for family leave. There wasn't anything large between the 2 differences. Holiday pay was added because that was not currently in the contracts. There was some cleanup on Rachel's that needed to be done from the last contract. But that was kind of the basis of it. Wage was the same, increase.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, council, be looking for a motion and support to approve the confidential administration assistant Susan Trunk's contract.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Travis.
Support.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
The next contract that we are looking at is the confidential administrative assistant for the police department, Rachel Andreas. I do have one correction on this one. So on page 116, under sick leave bonus on Rachel's contract, we need to add the language that's in Susan's contract on page 84 that states the selection will follow and be administered in the same way as the terms of the collective bargaining agreement currently enforced between the city and MAPE Local 1401, which shall control as it relates to the creation, existence, and administration of the HCP, the Health Savings Account.
Health savings account?
Yeah, I need that
Same
piece.
language.
Yes, that piece did get missed.
Okay. Council, I would look for a motion to approve the contract with that addition to Rachel Andrews' contract.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Your support?
I'll second.
Thank you, Marty.
Mr. Mayor, I have something.
Yep.
Comparing both contracts, Juneteenth is missing in Rachel's holidays.
Yep. So, Rachel did not negotiate that in the contract. Susan did,
Okay.
but with anticipation that.
I believe the governor just signed in that is now a state holiday
Yeah.
as well, so.
Yep, so
will be-
those will be added to
Okay.
contracts. Because it was federal prior to.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The next item I have on the agenda, I am going to ask Katie to come up and help me with this one. We'll actually give her kudos for this one, so, the you wanna take it away, actually?
Okay, so I'm here tonight speaking on behalf of the Chisholm Downtown Revitalization Committee, and I want to start with a little bit of history because this has been a project in the works for 3 years now. So in the spring of 2020, the Revitalization Committee secured a grant from ARAC to support our vision of adding art into the downtown area. June of 2021, we held a public engagement contest to choose 2 art pieces from local artists to be displayed on existing utility rafts in downtown Chisholm. So along the way, we had a little bit of a hiccup because we realized that MnDOT actually owned the right-of-way to one of the boxes that is located on the southwest corner of Lake Street and 3rd Avenue Southwest, right outside the fire hall. So on June 9th, 2021, the City Council gave us permission to fill out an application of art on Trunk Highway right-of-way. We filled out the application. Larry assisted us in coming up with a maintenance plan as part of the application process. The application has finally been approved, and so now in front of you tonight, we have a request to enter into agreement with MnDOT where the state would grant the city a limited license to occupy the trunk right-of-way as necessary to put the sticker on a box. So that's where we're at. So it's no cost to the city. It's the grant is going to pay for the install of the ramp and to pay the artist for their artwork. So there's both a resolution and an agreement in your packet. And the resolution is to approve who is going to assign the agreement, if that makes sense. So looking to approve both of those tonight. So we can add the local art to our downtown area.
Brian, do we need to approve the resolution, the agreement separately?
Yeah, I think we would approve the resolution first and then the agreement second.
Okay, so the resolution is actually MnDOT's resolution, correct? So I look for a motion to approve the MnDOT resolution.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Cheyenne.
Second.
Thank you, Jed. I'd say thank you very much. That grant is still good after all these years.
It really is, yeah.
Amazing what you have to go through. So thank you for persevering.
Okay, thank
Any
you.
further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I would look for a motion to approve the agreement.
I will make the motion.
Thank you, Cheyenne.
Second.
Thank you, April. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Katie.
The next item we have on the agenda is the Wendell 5 Bugles administrative contract. I do have Robert on remote today to answer any of your questions on that contract. Hello, Robert, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes. Thank you for being here
Perfect.
today.
Good evening, Robert. Okay, council. Inside your packet here, we have the agreement. I'm not sure if everybody had a chance to look this over. I know Jim has been working very hard with Robert to get this in front of us today so we can move along. I know this does come with the recommendation from our contract manager. So if there's no questions, I would look for a motion to approve the contract with Wendell 5 Bugles.
Do you want to do discussion before or after?
We always do it as, we do it right in the middle.
Make the motion.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Look for support.
I'll second.
Thank you, Marty. All right, council, for your discussion.
So, if, Mr. Mayor, I guess I need to understand why this is necessary when everything that I've read in here would fall under our contract manager that we hired. I mean, I know that there's B3 stuff in here, which I assume is part of the reason for it, but this is just adding another $150,000 to the project. And I guess I need to understand better why. Because I don't understand why.
Okay. Robert, would you like to talk to us about the contract?
Sure. So a typical design contract, I guess you could say, would have included this in the very beginning. Any architecture firm that when we design, we have to have oversight on those. And so that includes all the construction observations, reviewing all the submittals of the products that will be put into the building, so on and so forth. For whatever reason, when Chisholm did bring us on board or had the RFP that went out, they asked to exclude these services the very first time around. So, this is ultimately not anything that would be redundant in the end. You could get with API and they tell you the same. It's very typical for ourselves to provide these types of services on any project we do. I guess in our case, it would be kind of odd not to do that. Definitely looking through all the B3 requirements, looking, like I said, through all the product checking, some middle checking, shop drawings, site visits, doing meeting notes, so on and so forth, very typical. But I just want to make sure that everyone understands this isn't a double up of anything that we have, or that API has. It's services that we would always provide regardless if a construction manager or a general contractor or anybody else is involved.
Okay.
Do we know why we didn't include it the first round?
I do not. I don't specifically know why. I know the very first round was with Krause, and that was when we were doing the private development thing. And then the second time around, when we applied for it, it was asked not to put it in. I don't know if there was some thinking that maybe you would use someone else for those services from up there down the road, or how that would shake out, but I do know it was asked not to be included in both contracts that we ended up doing, so.
Travis, I think I can give you a little bit of background on that. When we initially started this project back in 2015, what was being considered at that point was a new city hall, community center, police, fire, and at that point we didn't know, really what the scope was going to be in terms of how big of a building or how many square feet or just what was going to be involved in that. And so typically, and we do the same thing on our infrastructure replacements, we get a proposal for doing the planning, the design, feasibility study, plan specs through the bidding process, and then based on the size of the project, we go out and get proposals for providing construction services. And I guess by comparison, when we do our infrastructure replacement projects, typically we hire the same firm to provide construction administration, construction inspection or observation, the staking and so forth, whether it's JPJ or SE8 and so forth. In this case, what's happening is the construction administration is still being proposed or going to be carried by the project architect, which is Wendell 5 Bugles. It's just that the inspection portion or construction observation is going to be handled by A&P. So it's separating two different firms. And there's a little different responsibility. A&P is directly responsible to the city, whereas, and they're not directly in contract with Wendell 5 Bugles, whereas on our infrastructure, they're both in the same package or the same proposal. So it's just separating out the construction administration from the construction observation. There's two different firms in this case, as opposed to what we typically do on infrastructure replacement.
So what happens if there's a conflict? What if our construction manager doesn't agree with Wendell or vice versa?
Basically, all of those decisions, Robert, correct me if I'm wrong, they ultimately come back to the city.
Yeah, if there's things like that, ultimately it goes, like a code enforcement thing, that would fall back to the state. But if there's a disagreement between the architect and the construction manager, I mean, obviously we would come in front of you and that would be the ultimate party that would decide which way we would go in the end on something. But I would think that would be very abnormal, for that to happen, so.
And I think the purpose of this is that AMP will be holding weekly construction status meetings, and Wendell 5 Bugles will attend occasionally, sometimes in person, and that's where we've got the 12 on-site meetings or that they travel up to us, as opposed to being tied in via Zoom or streaming type of process. But that's the purpose of those meetings, is to identify those issues that are brought up by contractors or that one part or the other sees, and most of that will be discussion, and then they'll come to some, hopefully, agreement, and whether or not a change order or an addendum to the contracts is necessary. But ultimately, all of that stuff comes back to the city council for approval. And in this case, Adolphson and Peterson, Brandon, Kellerman, and so forth are on site. They'll be putting together the estimated quantities, but they send all of that stuff to Wendell 5 Bugles, who actually prepare the actual pay application that will then be submitted to the city council for approval. Pretty much the same process, it's just that there's two separate parties as opposed to one company involved in providing those construction services.
Mr. Mayor, so if you have a problem with between the construction manager and the architect, and you go over your 12, let's say you get charged an extra $1,400, what if that's out of our control? It's between the architect and them. Do we still have to get charged for that or approve that? Or is that on them too? Because I disagree with that. If we pay them to design our building and we have a construction manager managing this project and they have to come out here over the 12th visit, that shouldn't be on us.
Robert, did you hear that question?
I did not, sorry.
It was concerning the additional costs for travel. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jed.
Yep.
For travel
Yep.
coming to the site. If it's outside of our control of why you have to travel, that additional, why would we pay that additional cost? I think was the question.
Yeah, so really anytime that we do construction administration services, we're usually contracted to do bi-weekly site visits. Talking to Jim and laying that out, the thought there was, since you have the construction manager, maybe we could only do monthly visits. So then what we ended up doing on there is, whether it's the discretion of the Jim or Stephanie or whoever, if we go beyond those 12 visits, or say there's something on site that needs our attention, we just did a per visit, the type of application where your staff would say, hey, we really need you out here. We know you were here 2 weeks ago, but we had something happen and we need you to come and look at it, and then staff would authorize that next visit essentially. So it's kind of an effort in reduction of services to do less visits in the end to make it cheaper.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
So my question is, you're combining your civil, structural, mechanical, electrical visits with your architectural visits, or are they separate? I assumed it'd be 19 visits, right, all these different entities. But you're saying you're gonna only have 12, and you must be combining your civil, structural, mechanical into your architectural visits? I wonder if you could clarify that for us.
If I heard that right, you were clarifying mechanical versus architectural visits? Is that what I
Yes.
heard that question?
Yes.
Having a hard time on the audio here for some reason. Yeah, so basically, anytime, you know, in the architectural record, we have to have architectural visits. We have to do supervised visits. So that's where the architectural staff comes in and do the supervised visits on that entire project. The mechanical, electrical, plumbing, you know, we typically do visits at, you know, underground, perhaps for plumbing, before they pour concrete. Or, you know, site visits for mechanical would be before they, you know, put ceiling up. Or our staff would go through and review all those and make sure they're installing per the contract documents and what you pay for ultimately. You know, so that's what every one of those visits ends up being in the end. If more visits are required, obviously we can talk about that at the time, but that would be atypical. What we're showing you there for two visits is what we have for mechanical, electrical, plumbing, if I remember right, is very typical of what we would see, and they'd be strategically placed, you know, where they are needed for API's construction and stuff.
So all the visits are included in your lump sum fee. The only thing additional would be mileage, travel, lodging, printing, those type of reimbursable expenses.
Sorry, Robert, our tool here is a little bit further away from everybody, so I'll be separate. So I think what Marty was getting at, so you have 12 architectural site visits. Are your civil sites going to be coming up at the same time on one of their 12, or are they, obviously they're going to come when it's pertinent for them to come, so it could be a total of, 12 architectural site visits, 2 civil site visits, so now we're at 14 if those don't overlap. We just want to make sure that all these site visits, it's not just the 12, so. Right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so those are additional visits on top of the 12. So if there's a strategic time where it's, hey, we're ready for civil to come out and do a visit, they may do it when we're not there.
Okay. Is that correct?
Yeah, my question was, all 19 are included in the fee, right?
In the lump sum fee.
In the lump sum fee, okay.
That's my understanding.
The only thing extra is if there's extra visits and then
Over above the 12.
plus their expenses, for travel expenses.
Over and above 12 months or 12 visits?
Each visit additional would be 14. If they go above the 19, it's $1,400 per each.
The only other thing that I'd like to bring up too, though, is that overall fee that you're seeing in front of you is lower than what we budgeted when we did the overall budget too. So this was planned for, it wasn't like it was a missed thing, it was in the overall budget. And it is less than that number that we had given it originally.
Okay. Is there any other questions? So we have a motion and support. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
No.
Motion carries. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, Robert.
All right, thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to myself. Number 1, resolution 0523-29, purchase of Airway Bar Restaurant Building and Land. So this came from the Chisholm Hibbing Airport Authority to purchase a property that's across the highway. It's been vacant for an extended period of time. I think the price has just gotten to a point where it just makes fiscal sense to purchase it, and then you're in control of what happens there in the future. So if there's no other questions, I would look for a motion to support resolution 0523-29.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Marty.
Support.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Bear with me, I just messed myself up here real good. There we are. Next under myself would be resolution 0523-30, proclamation recognizing 2023 Mental Health Month. That's May, it's Mental Health Month at Chisholm. This came from the Range Mental Health Center, another good facility in our community that helps out another dire need that we face, from our youngsters to our adults to our emergency personnel. So I would look for a motion to adopt resolution 0523-30.
Make the motion.
Thank you, Cheyenne.
Second.
Thank you, April. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Number 3, same as last year, looking to suspend council meetings June 28th, July 26th, and August 23rd. As most of you know, we did this last year. When we put together a council meeting, it takes our staff a week and a half. So as soon as we get done with this one, they're already planning for the next one. Summer is our busy time. We should be using this time to be proactive, and I would absolutely support suspending these 3 meetings, and if we have anything that comes up, we can have a special meeting. If there's any concerns or discussion? If not, I would look for a motion and support to approve this, to suspend those 3 council meetings.
Make the motion.
Thank you, Cheyenne.
Support.
Thank you, Travis.
Mr. Mayor, I think we should have these meetings because we're building a public safety building, and that way if we need to talk about stuff, we already have the meeting scheduled out for us. I know it takes a lot for our staff, but being we're building this project, we should really be on it, so.
Yep. No, I think if anything comes up, we can always just, we can always schedule a meeting for those dates also. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
Motion carries. The last thing on our agenda tonight then, right here, was set before you. BEMA request for Juneteenth street closure. So June 18th of this month. Serafia is in the audience tonight. I was going to ask for your help here, but everybody has the letter here in front of them. So I would like to hear from Serafia and then talk about what you want to do for that day. And then we'll talk to the rest of our staff.
Sure.
Good. I would, so the people at home can hear you.
Cool.
Good evening.
Huh?
Good evening.
Oh, good evening, thank you. So we are asking for Lake Street to be closed from 2nd Avenue to the alley just behind Kiwanis Park. We'll be having in that space some live performances in the Pocket Park and the Kiwanis Park, and also utilizing the Kiwanis Park for bounce houses like we did previously, and for our Black-owned business vendors to set up in the park, and then kind of splitting up our performances between the Pocket Park and Kiwanis to keep the more family oriented music in one side and stuff that may be a little more, what's the word? I don't know.
Mature?
More mature, thank you, yes. On the other side of the street. So, let's see, what else? Do you just want to know what's going to be happening?
Well, so I see you have from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Yep,
So
so the
times, and
event
that's-
is 11 to 3, so 4 hours. So just that extra time to set things up and then also be able to tear down and clean things up. Because some of the stuff that we'll be having is a dunk tank. It's also Father's Day, so we're really trying to incorporate Father's Day in with the celebration too. So we are looking at having a dunk tank there, so that's going to take a little time to clear off the street really, because it just hitches up apparently. Let's see, we're going to be flying some kites, and the National Juneteenth Speaks organization, there's a Minnesota chapter of that, and so the Minnesota chapter of that has this goal of flying the same number of kites each year as years since the first Juneteenth, which this year is 158. So all of the celebrations that are part of this Juneteenth, the National Juneteenth Speaks Association here in Minnesota, kind of just collectively fly kites and try to reach that this year, like I said, 158 kite goal collectively. Not that we think we're gonna have 158 kites in the air here, although it'd be awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so, yeah, just given a little bit of time to set things up and take things down is why there's the extended time. We're also asking to be able to add some Juneteenth flags among the American flags that are on the street in that space, because there is an actual Juneteenth flag. So just being able to add those to the street decor.
Okay. Do you have an idea how many of those flags are? Like, just because our staff's gonna have to swap them out, so.
Well, we purchased 4, and I spoke to Larry about just doing every other one, like in between the American flags that are they already there? I guess I didn't notice, no, not yet, but ones that would already.
4?
Yep, just
Okay.
4, 2 on each side, and just in that space that would be blocked off, the 2 blocks, 2.5 blocks.
Okay. I know PD might have some concern. I know I talked to Vern. He was actually we had the gyms with the Tom and Jerry celebration. We're concerned about First Avenue being shut down there. So if that is a concern, is that something that we could work through if we left First Avenue open, or is that a deal breaker?
Where's First Avenue? That's right.
Where the
smack in
Valentinis and
Streetlights.
Streetlights are.
Streetlight.
Oh, the streetlights.
Although it's, so normally we don't, that's a lot of real estate, we normally shut down 2 blocks. But we're actually moving this one, or the request is to move this one down, so you're only talking 2 blocks and then the Kiwanis, which is half a block. And looking at it, it's concern at certain times. This is a Sunday, morning to early, and like Valentine's and stuff, the bank, that's all closed there. So it'll be a lot less traffic. So I really don't see it as a problem on a Sunday afternoon, really, to do that part. And even the one thing that she didn't mention, but it's in the letter, is to do this as a citywide festival. Just to make sure that you guys are voting on everything that's in there to remember. So, and even that, this is not like it's dark and there's people lurking, like in a street that's like, King Valley.
Stumble out.
It's in the middle of the day. It's going to be beautiful. So it'd be a lot easier event to control if you take.
Okay.
Yeah, and our biggest thing with that is really just the dads. We're kind of going with this like barbecue type of theme to go along with Father's Day, and so we just want them to be able to have a beer if they want to, and
Dads like to have beers.
that's right.
Some dads. So you also have something. Are you having like vendor booths, or so black-owned business owners can?
Yep, they'll register with us previous to be able to set up there in the Kiwanis Park to, just to get, so people know that they're here. We often have folks come up from Duluth too. Because our celebration is on a Sunday, and usually in Duluth they do a Saturday. So we get some vendors from Duluth to black-owned businesses.
Now, is the point of you guys taking the request just so you can advertise?
What was that?
So you're taking the request of who's coming for the vendors so you can advertise for them and incorporate that?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's just something that we've always done, was set up the registration for that. Because we're usually the only ones doing stuff, so, we are charging a $25 registration fee this year for the vendors. Sorry, I did pick up the stuff I could show. Just to help cover any costs that might incur with the celebration.
Yeah, Brian, is that?
Thank you, Mayor. So I've got just a couple quick questions.
Sure.
So the vendor area, where is that vendor area going to be set up?
In the Kiwanis Park.
Okay. And is that an area that you've entered into an agreement to have exclusive possession of during that period, or is it still going to be open as a public park area?
Did I send you that back yet?
I don't think not yet. Or
Okay.
did you?
I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
We're entering into a contract, right, I have the paperwork.
City park rental.
Right.
Okay, and so that is actually a very important part of it, because in order to be able to have your group select vendors and theoretically be able to exclude vendors, or to be able to charge a fee, we've got to change the public nature of that space to give your group or your organization exclusive possessory control of it during that period. Otherwise, it would be what's called a limited public forum in terms of the city, which means that we can't tell people they can't be on the public property. And, if somebody were to come and set up and show up and say, well, I want to set up a booth here, the city couldn't tell them no.
Sure.
And it would be this, we'd have to treat it the same as any other public park.
Sure.
So long as there is some sort of a lease or rental agreement that's being put into place that grants an exclusive possession, that changes the analysis a little bit, because then it would be no different than hosting a private event at the senior center, where you would rent out the exclusive use to use that area during any specific time.
Sure. And we're not, let me just be clear about this too, we're not just saying that only Black-owned vendors can be in this space, but that is obviously a focus and a priority for Juneteenth, is that our Black-owned business vendors can be there to be a part of that. But I do understand what you're saying.
Mhm.
We'll
And-
still enter into that contract.
And my big concern was with the paying the $25.
Oh.
So if you're charging $25 for folks to set up a booth or an area, and somebody comes in and says, well, I'm not going to set up or pay you $25, and this is a public park, I can put my wares here in any event. That's my concern, is just the paying the $25 is my concern.
Thank you.
Yep.
Larry, no concerns?
We can
Give
work
the stuff?
through, the
Huh?
little details, but truly just stay in touch on it.
Yeah.
Because it's a Sunday, like you gotta, there's power concerns.
We will need power.
Yeah.
Well, for how many we don't have, we can't
Yep.
power up 6, concession stands,
No, right.
No, it won't, the vendors rarely need power.
Right, they're pretty self-contained.
The power would be for, per usual, anytime we do an event in Kiwanis Park, the bounce houses and the stage, and then in the pocket park.
Yeah, well, just for any
Is that
event, for everybody, that, pre-planning is key to having a successful event. So if you're gonna be drawing power, you need to test it beforehand, because we're not here on Sunday, and we're not coming back. So we'll come in, we'll set up for you, block off the space, and then it's your responsibility after that, and then we'll come out and take back down, so.
Yep. Perfect. I think the last time you were in there, we did need that grid you had, or this, because we were, even with crock pots, we were popping all the
Right.
breakers down there.
So, and then consider like little things like garbage.
Yeah.
Right.
What are you gonna do with garbage? You need extra garbage containers, things like that. So as the event planner, just let us know about those little things that the council really doesn't care about, but that we want you to have a successful event, so.
Yeah.
Two things you might want to consider is exactly that, where do you want, depending on where most of your people are going to be, where you want them to drop the cans for garbage, that, so you'll know where the flow is going to be, and if you're going to have any additional porta potty stuff, whether it's Sunday, some things that we closed down, we only have one in Kiwanis, so.
Well, we'll also, so the center will be open, the community center will be open. We're having kind of a soft opening that day also, so that will be open to the public with the restrooms there. We've also talked about getting another porta potty to put kind of on the other end from the Kiwanis Park, just in case. Jim's is partnering with us also, so they're gonna be open, and they're partnering with Big Old Chef House to do food for the day. And then we'll be talking to other business owners too on how they would like to participate in that festival, event, celebration. So I don't think that bathrooms will be an issue, maybe garbage cans, because people will most likely be eating outside and things like that.
Where is your new center?
It's at 118 West Lake Street. So it's right next to the Pocket Park.
Excellent. Well, council, I don't know if there's any other questions, but,
I have one quick question. Is Tom and Jerry's 50th the day before?
No,
they're the next week.
no,
Next
they're
week.
next week.
Okay, thank you.
One question. So when it comes to any festival, does the city need like a list of vendors, period, with this festival or any other festival prior to the event?
Mayor, if I may. So the big concern with vendors is if it's going to be held in a public space and if there's a potential that a vendor would be turned away. So in this case, like I said, the one item that caught my attention was the vendor fee. And if somebody like I said, if somebody says they're not going to pay the vendor fee, in order to charge a fee and be able to exclude vendors that you don't want to be there, there would have to be a private rental agreement to give exclusive possession to the area. Otherwise, we have to continue to treat it like an open public area.
Excluding a vendor that didn't want to pay, so.
Correct.
Excellent. Well, council, I would look for a motion to approve the closure of Lake Street from 2nd Avenue to the alley just past the Kiwanis on Sunday, June 18th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and to declare this a citywide event. Do that all at once, that's fine.
Can I say one more thing?
Absolutely.
That I didn't think about before. I think we're gonna need to fill the dunk tank, which I think maybe the fire department could do possibly, I don't know. So I guess I'm just asking if that's something that can be done also.
I think that normally goes to the PUC first. Correct? Am I right, Jim?
Sorry.
Something like that would go through the PUC.
If they wanted to fill a dunk tank. We had a dunk tank on Lake Street a few years ago, didn't we?
Yeah, I think they had it by Rups, and I think Rups just let them use their
hose.
I don't know that there is one down on that other end though.
Where's the dunk tank going?
We were gonna put it on the side where 2nd Avenue is, just to have access somehow to fill it.
Oh, Second.
Should be hydrant school.
Oh, Second Avenue should be.
Belong, but they could fill.
Right.
Yeah, that's Rups. Second
Whether the
Avenue.
PUC is going to charge for the water or not.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. The Central
Yeah.
first.
I would just ask Rups.
Yeah, we can figure that out after. Where,
On Sunday.
where's it gonna be at? The dunk tank?
Second Avenue.
We were thinking
Second
the
Avenue.
2nd Avenue side. We can move it in.
Can we just do one of our
rework however
hydrants?
I would say yes. I would say that we could use a hydrant, but then you open up the can of worms of somebody with a pool or something like that. I'm sure we can make it work, and the worst case scenario would be to put a meter on it to, judge a gallonage.
It's a citywide festival though.
Yeah, if it's a city, that's what, if it's a city festival.
Didn't we just get meters
Yes.
for specifically this purpose?
Yep.
So if people wanted to fill pools, for instance, and in my world, there's really not a difference between a pool and a dunk tank. We would just give the meter, so
It's a residential.
it just meters the water, not the sewage.
Oh.
So you don't get charged for that piece, you just get charged for the water. Yeah, if you end up doing it from
But that wouldn't work on a fire hydrant, right?
No, that work on
a
garden hoses,
residential.
yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay.
Can we just eat
We'll
it?
make sure that's full of water.
Thank you.
We won't worry about it. Figure it out.
I'll take it down pail by pail.
I wouldn't even care about
I'll beg
pulling
you.
it out of the center. I just don't know if we have the capability just yet to do that. We only have one sink, and it's the bathroom sink.
To close it the night before. So we'll make sure it has water and nobody's gonna get injured.
And if there's a specific spot that it needs to be, that would make that easier, just let us know. And we're just towing it here. It just hooks up and we tow it and park it wherever it goes, so.
Excellent.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor, that we declare this as a citywide festival event and everything that goes with
We
it.
close the street from 2nd Avenue to Kiwanis Alley from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. June 18th. And the city will provide the garbage and alleys with, you're gonna reach out. So, thank you, April.
Support.
Thank you, Travis. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Sweet, thank you guys.
See you then.
Thank you.
Okay, council, miscellaneous. I could have swore there was something, but escapes me.
There was something. Oh, it was the Tom and Jerry's block up.
Oh, so Vern, would you like, miscellaneous, I wanted to speak, we approved to close the Lake Street from Keyboard down to the bridge, to Central. I believe you had talked to Jerry. Hey, would you share that with us? Yes, please.
Yeah, I heard there was discussion at the last council meeting about shutting it further down. Normally on the street dance night, we only do the 2-block radius. And we've never gotten any further. We have moved it 2 blocks and excluded the Tom and Jerry block before, but our kind of standard rule is, and First Avenue was very busy at that time of day, and you have those other businesses that are down there. And that's all that Chairman Jerry actually requested was that 2 radius. One of the biggest things is police presence. I don't have, once you close down that area, squads can't get in. So anything involved in there is the guys on foot. So our guys who are on foot are responsible for inside that whole closure. And let's just be honest, I'm not getting any younger, so it's a lot harder to hook it all the way down, especially when you're going the bulk of that area will all be right outside of Tom and Jerry's. And even all the way down as you get down towards Tom's Bar, there'll be very limited any traffic, you know. So, we've always just done those 2 block areas. That's what I would request, that we just do those 2 blocks.
Okay. And Tom and Jerry's also expressed the same concern, you know, they're trying to put on an event, and now if they look at it, it's a dead street down here, then they have to bring more bounce houses, and if there's only one establishment past there, I don't believe Valentini's is keen on it closed, so.
Yeah, I can tell you Valentini's doesn't want it closed. They don't even like to partake in any of the street dance activities over the last several years. They did actually hold one down there and partnered with Lake Street Bar and Grill. Lake Street Bar and Grill years ago to hold a party down that way, but that's as much as they did, just because Stephanie had asked the request. So.
Sounds good.
Okay. So council, with that, I would look for a motion to amend the street closure for that day, if that's right.
I think I like to amend
April,
that.
you make that motion? Do we know what?
Do we know who made that motion to amend it?
April.
Who seconded?
Well, last week?
Okay.
We can amend it right now. So.
He was just second guessing. He knew what I was saying.
Well, we're just a motion to amend it as tonight. Thank you, Travis. Any further discussion?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jim's all knowing.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Unless anybody has anything else, council, I would look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Thank you, Travis.
Support.
Thank you, Cheyenne. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Everybody have a good night.
Thank you.